Hello, everyone. How are you? Please let me know by the chat if you can listen to me and watch me properly. Daniel is saying yes. Excellent. Great. So we are about to start with the masterclass. For now, I would like you to introduce yourself by the chat. Please share with us your name, your location, and your occupation, please. And in 2 more minutes, we will begin with this masterclass. For now, get ready, get a pen, a notebook, and please introduce yourself by the chat. Daniel is sharing. I'm Daniel, a realtor in Ohio. Welcome, Daniel. Rebecca, I'm a COO in Oklahoma. Excellent. Alaha, from Utah, clinical care management. Excellent, great. Thanks for joining me in this masterclass. So, as I told you, please get ready because we are about to start. I would like to begin introducing myself. My name is Rodolfo Alvarez. I'm an engineer and a mindset coach. And since 2015, I've been helping individuals and organizations to improve their wellness and well-being. I'm from Chile. I moved to Florida last year in July. And when I was finishing my program, studying to be an engineer, I noticed that engineering were not my passion. And I discovered that my passion was to help others. And in that moment, I started getting certifications to be a coach. In 2015, in Chile, in Santiago, I set up a center, which name is Inspira. And we delivered programs related to different topics, including stress and anxiety management, healthy eating habits, mindfulness, sex life, etc. In these years, I've been working with organizations and individuals from different countries, including Chile, the US, Canada, and Mexico. And I've worked with companies such as Veolia, McKinsey & Co., and PepsiCo. This night, we will have a masterclass on burnout and how to beat burnout. I've been noticing that among women, burnout is something that's very present. And I would say that there are different factors that affect and create this result. I've seen different women that, for example, are caregivers, and they have patterns related to taking care of others. In addition to that, I have worked with women too that struggle with imposter syndrome. And when people feel that they are imposters, there's a compensation process that they tend to do. And one of the ways that they can compensate is working and doing more things, which can end up in burnout. Another pattern that I've seen a lot is related to being a perfectionist. So if you notice, there are different patterns that turn to create a burnout or tend to create burnout in the person. What I would like to do tonight in this masterclass is to share with you tools to beat burnout and then to prevent getting it. And also tools to manage stress levels, okay? Tonight, there's a person that will join me in a while. Her name is Danielle, and she will be here with us sharing, and she will show you how to use some of the tools that I will teach you tonight, okay? My invitation for you is to participate in this class. You will be able to interact by the chat and by polls. My function and my purpose tonight is to give you clarity. So if you have any questions and you would like to add something, please feel free to do it, okay? Let me know if you're following me, please. I will ask you that question because I like to check if the connection is working properly and if you are understanding me. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Jessica, Rebecca, Alaha. Excellent. Thank you very much. Before diving into the contents, I would like to share some guidelines of this experience. This is an interactive program. Your active participation is key. It would help if you had something to write with and a place to record your thoughts, and to ask questions and share during the presentation. Type your question or comment in the chat box. We will read them during the presentation. Let's begin with the contents of this masterclass. First of all, I would like to start exploring what's stress and what's burnout. And before doing that, I would like to explain what are emotions. I think that that's a concept that is key for this class. Emotions are physical reactions that our body has when it's exposed to external stimulus. So for example, I'm walking by the street, I see a dog, and this dog looks dangerous. So it's likely that in that moment, my body will react. And for example, I will experience a pressure over my chest. That is an emotion, the pressure over my chest, the physical reaction that my body is having. We are supposed to experience emotions and then after a while, release the emotion. What sometimes happens is that we experience an emotion, but then we get stuck. And we don't know how to process those emotions. When a person is experiencing burnout, burnout happens as a consequence of experiencing stress for long periods of time. So this person started experiencing stress. The person was not able to lower those levels of stress. And after weeks, months, and years experiencing high levels of stress, the mind, the body gets exhausted of the emotion, and then the person experiences burnout. As I told you, when we experience an emotion, we're supposed to process the emotion and release the emotion. I always make an analogy with a tunnel. Emotions are like going through a tunnel. We get into the tunnel, but then we're supposed to get out of the tunnel. The problem is that sometimes we get stuck in the tunnel. And when that happens, that's the moment in which we start having burnout, okay? Now, we are living in a world and in a society in which we are constantly exposed to different stressors. Some examples of stressors are our phones, our computers, right? The news, the media. And also, I would like to state that the last years haven't been easy years. We have been exposed to a pandemic, inflation, and different phenomena that, of course, affect us, okay? And those phenomena tend to increase our levels of stress. So what ends up happening is that we normalize a life in which our stress levels are high constantly. And of course, in the long run, that can produce burnout. So my invitation for you tonight is to start noticing how are your levels of stress, if they are high, if they are low, and I will share with you tools to be able to manage those stress levels in order to prevent burnout. That's my function today. And I will explain how, for example, to process different types of emotions, because I don't want you to get stuck in the tunnel. I want you to be able to start experiencing the emotion and then being able to get out of the tunnel. Please let me know by the chat if you are following me. I would like to know. Rebecca is saying, yes, extraordinary. Thank you, Rebecca. Alaha is saying, connection spotty. Oh, okay, so the connection is not working as well. Now I'm back. Can you see me now? Okay, perfect. If for some reason the connection cuts off, please let me know. And if that happens, you need to know that I'll be back. Maybe I will take some time, but I'll be back. So you can wait for me, okay? Thank you. So now I would like to explain what happens to our body when we are exposed to stress. What happens to our body when we are exposed to stress? So imagine the following scenario. There's a prehistoric human, and this person is walking by nature, and at some point, this person sees a lion, which could be similar to the lion of the picture. In that moment, it's likely that this person will experience fear, anxiety, different emotions, and the stress response will be triggered inside of the body of this person. So this body will start getting ready to escape, to run away. So it's likely that the heart of this person will start beating faster, that the blood will start moving around the body and going to the hands, to the feet, right? This person is going to start breathing faster too. This person will start sweating. So basically what is happening is that there are some hormones that are being released in that moment because this person, this body is getting ready to escape or to attack. Why? Because this person is exposed to a threat. What's the threat? The lion, okay? So what's likely to happen after that is that this person will run away, will escape. And after moving the body, there's going to be a point in which I hope this person is able to be safe and protect himself, herself, themselves, okay? And when that happens, it's likely that the stress levels of this person will lower. There's going to be a sensation of we're safe, everything is fine, we were able to protect ourselves. And the stress levels will lower after moving the body. That's what's likely to happen, okay? So that was the first example that I wanted to share with you. And now I would like to analyze what could happen in a situation from the present, okay? So imagine that you're working at your job in your office, and then your boss comes to you and asks you to finish a report for tomorrow. And it's likely that in that moment, your body will react too. And your palpitations, your heart will start beating faster. Maybe you will start sweating. You will experience some tension over your chest, etc. And again, we will have this body getting ready, getting prepared for the fight or flight response. You will experience high levels of stress. Maybe you will start working in this project, this report. Maybe your attention will not be the best because when we are stressed, we are not able to focus. And let's say that you finish the project, you finish the report, but then you go back home at night, and when you try to sleep, you can't sleep. You're having racing thoughts. You're thinking about the project. And the interesting thing here in this example is that maybe you are no longer exposed to the stress, but you will be stressed. Your body will be stressed. And if you notice in this case, you didn't move your body. You didn't escape. Maybe you finished the report, but that wasn't enough to process all the substances related to stress that were present in your body. And that's what sometimes happens to us in the present. We are going through challenging situations. Our stress response is triggered, but then we don't move our body. So our mind, our brain doesn't understand that we're safe. So we are safe, but our stress levels keep being high. I will give you another example. At night, you have a kid and your kid starts experiencing pain. You take your kid to the hospital. They find that your kid has a bacteria. They give this kid a treatment. So your kid starts feeling better. Then you go back home. Everything is fine, but you keep being stressed. Why? Because you didn't move your body. You were not able to process your stress levels. So for your brain, the threat is still there, okay? Why is important to understand this? Because one thing is stress, which is the response that we have, and the other things are the stressors. And you could manage the stressors that are present in your environment, but that doesn't mean that your stress will lower. So for example, you were watching your phone, you were watching the news, and there was a piece of news that was like terrible. And then the stress response was triggered, right? So maybe you can put your phone away, but that doesn't mean that your stress levels will lower. You will be stressed for a while. Why? Because your body hasn't processed those stress levels yet, okay? So when the stress response is triggered, it's likely that we will experience different symptoms. And these symptoms could be physical symptoms, cognitive, or behavioral symptoms. I will read some of the symptoms and then I will launch a poll because I would like to understand how stress manifests in you, okay? So some of the symptoms are low energy, headaches, an upset stomach, aches, pains, tense muscles, chest pain, insomnia, frequent colds and infections, nervousness, dry mouth, clenched jaw. Maybe constant worrying, racing thoughts, inability to focus, poor judgment, being pessimistic, change in appetite, procrastinating, the use of alcohol, drugs, or cigarettes, and having more nervous behaviors, such as nails biting. So those are some of the symptoms of stress. And what I will do now is that I will launch a poll because I would like to know how stress manifests in you, okay? So you should be watching the poll right now, and it says, what of the following symptoms are you experiencing when you're stressed? Difficulty breathing, sleep problems, muscle aches and headaches, constant worrying, inability to focus, indigestion, tendency to smoke, drink more than usual, low energy, exhaustion, change in appetite levels, lack of motivation, loss of interest. And then it says, rate your stress levels, low, medium, or high. So please vote. In the first one, you can pick more than one option, okay? It's multiple choice. We have 55% of the votes received. %66%. Okay, so I will end the poll and I will share the results. What of the following symptoms are you experiencing? I will read the ones that had the most votes, okay? So 100% mentioned constant worrying. Then 83% mentioned lack of motivation, loss of interest. And then we have low energy, exhaustion, and changes in appetite levels at 50%. Inability to focus had 67%, sleep problems 2. 67%. And then rate your stress levels. Most of you have medium stress levels, a 50%. Then 33% had high stress levels and low, a 17%. Excellent. So thanks for voting. Thanks for sharing. And now I would like to invite Danielle to join me in this conversation. So please give me 1 second. So you should be able to watch Danielle that is there. Danielle, can you listen to me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. I can hear you perfectly too. So thanks for being here tonight with us. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure, yes. So my name is Danielle, and I am from Columbus, Ohio. I met Rodolfo virtually in November of 2021, so about a year and a half ago now, which is crazy. And I met him, through social media, did a discovery session with him, and working with him has been a joy for me. So it's exciting for me to be able to be on here to share some of my experience and some of what I've learned through working with him. But so I live in Columbus, Ohio, with my husband and our 2 cats, Hamilton and Biscuit. They're probably fighting in the other room, but hopefully you won't be able to hear them. But yeah, I'm just a 30-something woman professional. Like a lot of you, I experience stress in my life. I think it to some degree unavoidable, regardless of how well you feel like you've developed yourself. It will happen at some point or another. So just being able to, manage that as much as possible is important. So I'm excited to talk a little more about that.
Excellent. So thanks for that introduction. And I have a question for you, Danielle, which is the following. Give me 1 second. So now we have the question. What symptoms do you experience when you're stressed?
Yeah, so for me, it hits my sleep pretty hard. I have a hard time sleeping. I have a hard time falling asleep. I can rarely sleep through the night. And when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's hard to go back to sleep. So it's kind of like racing thoughts, worrying. And so I'm thinking about what I'm worrying about, and it keeps me up at night. I notice that it affects my eating habits as well, and health is really important to me. So uh, it's like I get stressed, and then it affects my eating habits, and then I get stressed out about my eating habits. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. But yeah, that's how stress kind of manifests in my life and what that looks like for me. Those are like definitely indicators where I'm like, whoa, I can tell that I'm stressed out because of these, couple of things.
So sleep habits that change and eating habits that change too, right? That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
understanding. So
Yeah.
I asked that question to you, but I would like our attendees to answer this question too. Actually, I would like to invite them to answer by the chat. I know that in the poll you voted, but I would like to learn more about you. And maybe there are some symptoms that were not specified there. And Danielle, I would like to ask, does your body react in a specific way? Like, because what you're sharing is more about behaviors in that level,
Mm-hmm.
right? So regarding your body, how does your body react?
Yeah. So sometimes it depends on the type of stress. Like I notice that if it tends to be like something that I'm actually worried about, I feel like uneasy in my stomach, like, oh, like what's going to happen, like something that I don't really have control over. And that's more of like a worried stress. But if I'm stressed because I'm like, overwhelmed. I have a lot on my plate. I have a lot to get done. A lot of times I'll get a headache. Like it's like in my forehead and like on the sides, I get a tension headache. So there are definitely physical reactions for sure.
Okay, excellent. So attention and a headache, right? That's what I'm hearing.
A tension headache, yeah.
Yes, excellent. So thanks for sharing, and thanks for being here, Danielle. For a while, I will highlight our spotlight, sorry, that's the word, myself, and then I will bring you back again in a while, okay?
Sounds good.
Excellent, thank you. So that was Danielle. Please let me know by the chat if you are following us, if you were following us in this conversation. Let me know by the chat, please. Perfect. So we have Alaha, Jessica, Rebecca, Alexia. Perfect. Thank you. Michaela, great. Extraordinary. Let's continue with the masterclass. Why is important to be clear with the symptoms of your stress? Because in those moments, in the moments in which you are stressed, you need to start using the tools that I will teach you in a while. So the beginning of the work is to be aware, to practice awareness. And having clarity of these symptoms is going to help you, okay? So let's continue. As I told you, burnout happens when we get stuck. So we're experiencing an emotion, we are inside of this tunnel, and then we are not able to process this emotion. That's what happens. And after a while, we're stuck and we don't know how to stop experiencing the emotion, and we start getting exhausted, okay? So now I would like to explore the reasons why people typically get stuck. Reason number one, because they are exposed to chronic stressors. What do I mean with this? For example, imagine that I work in sales and every day I need to sell a program. So for example, it's Monday. I haven't sold my program yet, so I'm stressed out. And then at the end of the day, I sell a program. So my stress levels will lower, but not that much. And the next day is Tuesday, and I haven't sold a program. So again, my stress levels will increase. And then maybe I sell the program and they will lower. But I'm constantly increasing my stress levels. Those are chronic stressors. And that's one of the options of why we can get stuck in stress, okay? Then, second alternative, because of social appropriateness. So we live in a world with some social rules, and sometimes we're not able to share what we're feeling. We are not able to process or release our emotions. So let's, for example, that I'm at my job, I'm in a meeting, and someone is commenting on something that they shouldn't comment on. Or maybe we have been stuck in a conversation for hours, and I've noticed that there's no progress. And maybe I'm angry, but I know that I can't share that feeling with other people, or it's not going to be appropriate. So what we tend to do is to cover our emotions. And that's one of the reasons we can get stuck, because we are covering our emotions. And then the third reason is because sometimes we have to protect our safety. What do I mean with this? For example, I'm walking by the street, I see a person, and this person makes a comment that is not appropriate. And I would like to react, but I'm scared of reacting because maybe if I react, this person can hurt me physically. So what I have to do again is to suppress the emotion because I need to protect my safety. So those are the main reasons why people get stuck. And when we're stuck, we start being in a state of burnout. And what are the characteristics of burnout? First of all, there's an emotional exhaustion, meaning I have been feeling these levels of stress or these emotions that are so intense for a long period of time. And now I'm tired of feeling the emotion. That's the first sign. Then, depersonalization. And what do I mean with this? The person is not aware of the impact of their actions. And maybe if they are aware, they don't care. So for example, let's say that I cooked something and then I went to my room, I went to my bed, and I'm not sure if I turned off the stove. A person that is depersonalized would be like, you know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. But if I'm not experiencing depersonalization, I will be like, I need to go to the kitchen to check what's happening and figure out if the stove is off. Because if not, then there's a fire that can start. So that's one of the symptoms of burnout, depersonalization. We don't care because we're exhausted. Okay. And then the other symptom or characteristic is a decreased sense of accomplishment. So I've been stressed for a long period of time, and I start feeling that the things that I do don't matter. So then the question that I ask myself is, why do I care? Why do I have to keep going? And what could happen is that the person gives up. Okay? So those are the characteristics of burnout. And now I would like to start sharing with you the tools to manage your stress levels and preventing burnout from happening. Okay? So I have a question for you. What do you think that is the best way, or maybe one of the most powerful ways to lower your stress levels? And you can type your answer by the chat. What do you think is one of the most powerful ways to lower your stress levels? So Danielle is sharing meditation. Alaha, meditate too. Thanks. Jessica says exercise. Danielle says exercise. Michaela says breathe. Rebecca says reading. Excellent. So all of you gave me great answers. Thanks for those answers. And now I would like to share with you the most powerful way from my perspective, okay? So if we go back to the example of the person that was walking by nature and this person sees a lion, what this person did after having these high levels of stress and after the fight or flight response was triggered was running, escaping, moving the body. So one of the most powerful ways to complete the cycle and process the stress that we have in our system is to move our bodies. Why? Because after moving our bodies, we will send a message to our brain, which is we are safe. We survived. Everything is fine. Nothing happened. And when I talk about movement, this movement could be working out, going to the gym, weightlifting, or it could be running, spinning, swimming, or it could be going for a walk or stretching. But what I need you to do is to tense your body, to make effort, to move it. That's going to be the purpose. And that will help you to immediately start shifting or changing your stress levels. So that's the first way, okay? Now, I would like to explain other techniques which are related to what you said by the chat. And the first technique is related to breathing. So there are some breathing techniques that helps us to lower our stress levels. Actually, today, I would like to share with you one of those techniques, which is my favorite technique, okay? I will practice it and you will be able to watch me practicing the technique. And while I'm doing the technique, I want you to do it by your own, okay? So this technique considers that you will have to inhale 2 times by your nose. When you inhale, you need to do it with force. And then you will exhale the air by your mouth. I'm going to do it now, okay? So the technique goes as follows. If you notice when I'm breathing, I'm pushing. So I will stop because if I continue, I will get very relaxed and I don't want that right now, okay? But if you notice, the technique considers you inhaling 2 times by your nose with force and then inhaling by your mouth, okay? I call this technique the 2-1 technique. So let me know by the chat if you have been able to practice the technique and if you are noticing some results. This technique is a technique that you need to practice and then find a specific number of repetitions that you need to do it in order to get relaxed. Sometimes people practice it and they go over that number and then they start getting dizzy, okay? So you need to find your magic number. And remember, you inhale twice by your nose and then you exhale by your mouth. When we are stressed, the levels of oxygen that we have in our blood are imbalanced. So what we're doing is breathing and pushing air to the bottom of our lungs and pushing our system to restore the balance of oxygen. That's what we're doing, okay? And that's why this technique works so fast. So let me know by the chat if you were able to practice the technique, if it's working. Alaha is saying yes, thank you. Jessica is saying yes too. Rebecca is saying yes. Extraordinary. Alexia saying yes too. Perfect. Michaela shared, sometimes I get high levels of stress in the middle of conversations or meetings at work and I get stuck. Michaela, at the end of the class, I will share with you a technique to manage those stress levels during the meeting, okay? So if you started feeling dizzy, Michaela, my suggestion is to figure out the number of repetitions that you have to do before getting dizzy. So if you start noticing that your body is getting relaxed, stop in that moment. I know that my magic number is 5. So if I repeat the process 5 times, I know that I will be perfect. But if I continue, then I will start getting a little dizzy too. Okay? So are you ready to continue? Are you ready to continue? Let me know by the chat. Rebecca is saying yes. Jessica is saying yes. Alaha too. Okay, great. Thanks for interacting with me by the chat and being present. So the second tool to manage your stress levels is related to positive social interaction, okay? We need to remember that we are humans and our brain will feel that, no, not our brain, we will be stressed when we are exposed to threats, such as, for example, the lion of the example that I shared with you before, okay? So when we are interacting with other people and we're having social positive interactions, for our brain, that's a sign of safety. We feel that we have a team, we have other people that we can rely on. And again, that will generate a sense of peace and calmness, okay? So if you are going through hard times and you're experiencing stress, what could help you a lot is to open up and share your feelings with someone. And maybe ask for advice. Ask for support. And that will make you feel better. Why? Because for your brain, the sense of being exposed to a threat will lower. And it feels that you have a support system that will be there for you if you need it, okay? Then, laughing. Why laughing helps? Because when we laugh, we move different muscles of our body. And then, of course, that generates the same feeling of being safe, right? Escaping. That's what we are simulating when we are laughing. Then, the other tool that could help you is to cry. So if you're stressed and you are feeling sad and you are experiencing some emotions that are tough for you, releasing these emotions through crying will help you. Also, when we cry, we release some endorphins, which will make us feel better. So that will help you to reduce your stress levels too. Then another tool is connecting to creative expression. I don't know if you remember, but I told you at the beginning of the class that I always make an analogy between emotions and going through a tunnel, right? When we connect with creative expression, we are connecting to different emotions. So for example, if you listen to a song, this could be a sad song, but then you can listen to an empowering song. And then after that, you can listen to a passionate song, okay? And when we do that, we are transitioning from different emotions. That's what we are doing. So that will help you to not get stuck inside of this tunnel, because you will push yourself to experience different types of emotions. And that may happen if you are painting, that may happen if you are singing a song, if you are listening to a song, if you are writing your feelings, etc. And then the last tool that I would like to share with you is affection, okay? So for example, giving a hug to someone, holding the hand of someone, that can help. And again, why? Because your brain will feel protected and it will release different neurotransmitters, such as, for example, serotonin, which help to lower your stress levels. Let me know if you understood those tools that I shared. Let me know by the chat, please. Rebecca is saying, yes, perfect. Michaela is there too. Alaha says, makes sense. Alexia says, yes. Jessica says, clearly. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for being there chatting with me. Now, I would like to talk about the impact that our thoughts may have in our stress levels, okay? So in order to explain the impact of our thoughts, I would like to share with you some examples. Imagine the following. Maybe I'm with a friend, we are interacting, and my friend tell me that he wants me to do something. So I'm in an event and my friend asked me to do something. And maybe in that moment, I start feeling scared or insecure. And I feel that I can't say no. So I feel bad. I start having the thought that I can't say no. And then maybe I will say yes, and I will commit to do something that I don't want to do. So if you notice in that example, I had a thought, which was, I can't say no, that made me say yes. And then I will commit to do something that maybe I'm not capable of doing. And that will generate high levels of stress in me. That's the first example that I wanted to share. Then let's analyze other example. Imagine that I'm an entrepreneur. And then I have the thought that I'm not where I want to be. So I need to find new things to do. I can start new projects, etc. And it's likely that that will make me feel that maybe I'm not good enough, that maybe what I'm doing is not enough today. And that I need to be always aware of the possibilities of my environment and keep doing more and more and more. And maybe when I'm resting and I go to bed to sleep, I start thinking about next projects, about the future, about what else I could do. And of course, again, that will trigger a stress response And it's likely that in the long run, I will experience a sense of burnout. Or let's say that at my job, at my work, I feel that I'm not good enough. I don't have the skills required. And when someone asks me something in a meeting, I react and I don't know what to say and I get stressed. And maybe when I answer, I'm not connected with the present moment and I'm thinking what to say, and then I get paralyzed. That's what could happen. So in those situations, the stress response is triggered again, and if not managed, then maybe I will be a person that is constantly compensating, trying to do more things, starting new projects, etc., because I feel that I'm not good enough. Okay? So why I'm sharing these examples with you, because if you notice, our thoughts are key. If we are having thoughts that are triggering the stress response, maybe we will not be exposed to external stressors, but we will be triggering the stress response because of our inner dialogue. If I'm telling myself that there are more things that I can do, if I'm telling myself that I can't say no, if I'm telling myself that I'm not good enough, it's likely that I will have high levels of stress. So what is necessary to manage your stress levels in those cases and your burnout is to, first of all, start managing your inner dialogue. It's not going to help if you put your phone away, but if you're thinking about the next thing that you need to do, it's not going to help. Because your thoughts will trigger the stress reaction. So you will be exposed to a psychological stressor, not a real stressor. Does that make sense? Let me know by the chat if you caught that idea, because I think that that's one of the keys of this masterclass. Jessica says yes. Alaha says yes. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Michaela. So I would like to share thoughts that are linked to high levels of stress and burnout. First, if you want something done right, do it yourself, meaning you can't delegate. Second, I can't say no, meaning I'm a people pleaser. I'm always saying yes. Then, life is hard. Success is the key to happiness. I can't fail. I can't relax if I don't finish. And then I'm not enough. So those are the thoughts. And what I will do now is to launch a poll. And I would like to know with which of these thoughts do you relate to? So you should be watching the poll in your screen now. Remember that you can check more than one box. So this is multiple choice. I'll be waiting for your responses. We have a 42% of the votes received. Allah is saying, I cannot see it. Oh, I don't know why. Okay, what I will do, Allah, is to show you the thoughts. You should be watching them on your screen. And if you want, you can type the thoughts that resonate with you by the chat. That's what you can do. I don't know why you're not able to see the poll. I'm sorry. But then you can write your limiting beliefs by the chat. So please do that. We have 71% of the votes received. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Talaha. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So I will end the poll and I will share the results. I'm back. So the one that all of you checked was, I can't relax if I don't finish. And then we have, if you want something done right, do it yourself. I can't say no. Life is hard. I can't fail. And I'm not enough. Thanks for voting and start a process to recognize and identify your limiting thoughts, the ones that are triggering your stress. So I would like to invite Danielle back because actually I will start working with her and exploring her limiting beliefs. So again, if she is sharing, right, this is something that you should be doing by your own too. Start exploring your limiting beliefs and understand also where are those beliefs coming from. So give me 1 second, Danielle. I'm ready. So Danielle, what are your limiting thoughts in terms of the stress that you experience?
Yeah, can you show me the list again so I can pick one for like, because I know that there's a couple. I was trying to remember which ones.
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, there's a few.
Yes.
So I think that, okay, so I think that a lot of them are rooted in number 7.
Uh-huh.
But I would say that um, number 2 and number 4 are probably my biggest ones. Um, and I feel like I have a hard time saying no, and I really want to be successful because there are times when I feel like I'm not enough. And so sometimes it feels like saying yes and being successful would remedy that and would make me feel like I'm enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the core belief in your case, I will come back. Okay. The core belief in your case would be I'm not enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would like to ask, when do you think that you started having that thought? Like what's the story of that thought in your life?
Yeah, so this is one that I've told a lot of people about. So when I was younger, I I've always been very close to family, and so their thoughts and feelings about me really matter to me a lot. And so even, when I was a little girl, I felt that way. So when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I was at school and I got in trouble for something. And it was something that was like a total accident, something that any child could have done. I didn't mean to do it, but I got in trouble. And I went to a pretty strict private school, and it was small. Families were very well connected, things like that. So um, I knew that my whole family would find out that I got in trouble. And I was like, oh my gosh, my family is going to be so ashamed of me. And so I, as a young girl, like allowed myself to believe that I had to make up for something, and that like because I had done something wrong, I had to fix that. And to fix that, I could overachieve, I could try to be perfect, I could try to earn people's love. So that's where like the having a hard time saying no comes in, because I can tend to people please sometimes. And I can put a really high value on success because I feel like it makes me feel like I have worth, when maybe I don't believe that as much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So performing or having a good performance will make you be worth it. That's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to do. And that's why this belief is triggered, the belief that I'm not good enough or I'm not enough.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. So I think that you shared something really, really deep. And I would like to check if our attendees are following us in the conversation. Okay. So please, by the chat, let me know, or let us know, actually, if you're following us and if you understood the roots of Danielle's belief.
I think it's hard too, because this is another thing. Like, I've worked with you for a long time, and I spend a lot of time on personal growth and like things like that. Um, and it's just one of those things, like a self-worth thing is one of those things that no matter how hard you work at it, it's like it still can kind of creep back in every once in a while. So it's like, well, it's like people that, maybe have dealt with like an addiction or something. It's like it will always be there, right? So like this feeling, will kind of always be there, and you can work to overcome it. But like every once in a while, it tries to creep back in, whether it's like something that is like triggering to you or, um, yeah, I don't know. That's just my experience. But I think it's incredibly prevalent in women. We tend to feel like, especially in our professional environments, we tend to feel that, um, we have to make up for something. And in some ways, we are set up to feel that way. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I we don't have to get into that whole thing.
No, but
But
thanks for sharing that too, because I think that there's a cultural component that affects too. And of course, trigger the creation of these limiting beliefs that end up producing high levels of stress. So thanks for sharing that perspective, Danielle. I would like to check if our attendees are following us. And I would like to say that every time that I work with a client and we are working on stress levels and burnout, to me, the most important work that needs to be done is the work on the beliefs. Why? Because maybe you can practice the relaxation technique, you can practice the meditation, you can work out. But if you're telling yourself that you are not good enough, that's going to trigger the stress again. So it's kind of like trying to manage the problem without managing the roots. It's like putting a band aid. And what I think that it needs to be done is to remove the band-aid, understand those events that shaped you, and start changing those interpretations, which is what you were able to do. And I agree that sometimes when we have been operating from a pattern from a long time, then the pattern tends to come back, and there's a tendency. But it's important in those moments to be aware and then reframe our self-talk and then empowering ourselves and keep going. That's the thing, right? So yeah,
mhm.
there's going to be a risk, I would say, to like go back to the old thoughts. But if you're aware, you will be able to manage it. And I think that that's the power.
Yeah, I agree. There was this really cool analogy that I heard. I have to share this. I don't know if anybody knows anything about dirt biking. I certainly don't, but I heard this recently. When people go dirt biking in like the forest, they go on the same trail. And when it gets muddy, they form really deep grooves in the dirt, in the mud. And they form deep grooves that are so deep that your bike can actually get stuck in there. And so when your bike gets stuck, you can't actually like take it out yourself because you're kind of stuck there. So you need like you need other people to come alongside you. And so to me it was this beautiful analogy of like when we come across these hard things in our lives, we need tools and we need people to come alongside us and like get us out of these grooves that we have like run over so many times in our lives that they're so deep. And so when we get stuck in them, it's hard to get out. But it's like if we can get the tools and get the right people in our lives, then um, we can get out of those grooves and fill them in and start making other grooves that are healthy.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah, and I think that it's powerful to get out of the word is group, right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Totally. Totally. And start seeing the light and then continue, because sometimes we don't know how to do that. So Danielle, before closing this masterclass, I would like to invite our attendees to an instance, an activity, and the name of this activity is a discovery session. So give me 1 second because I will give you all the information of the discovery session. So I will write the information, yes, in the chat. So what's a discovery session? It's a session in which you will have the chance to work one-on-one with me, and I will guide you through a process to explore your limiting thoughts, meaning the thoughts that today are triggering your stress, the thoughts that today that are triggering this feeling of burnout. We will go to the roots we will do something similar to what Daniel shared with you, and you will start a process to removing those emotional blockages. So if you are having today a limiting belief, which could be, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I can say no, and you understand that this is a thought that you have been having for a long time, that maybe started when you were a teenager, when you were a kid, etc., then this invitation is for you, because in this session, you will be able to find the roots of that thought, and then you will start getting tools to remove the thought, okay? My invitation is to schedule this session, and then in that session, we will figure out if a program or next steps would be a good idea for you, okay? Michaela, the discovery session is free. My only request is, if you're interested in working with me, schedule the session, because that's going to be a great instance for you to figure out if we are a good fit. Actually, Danielle can share with you about the discovery session and her experience too. So could you share about that, Danielle, please?
Yeah, sure. So it was something that I was definitely curious about, but wasn't really sure about at first. Like I said, I'm someone who does a lot of, spends a lot of time on personal development. So I've read all the books. I've read the books about habits. I've read the books about like grit and willpower and all of those things. And I thought that like I'll find the thing. I'll find the magical thing that will help me. But the secret is that there's not really a magical thing. Um, and a lot of it is actually getting to the root of what's going on inside of you, and not just putting a band-aid on it with a self-help concept. So through my work with Rodolfo, I was able to figure out what for me uniquely is holding me back from experiencing growth or fulfillment or, whatever in different parts of my life. I mean, working with him has not just changed like my professional life, it's totally changed my marriage and my relationship with my friends and, things like that. And that's the beauty of it, is like Rodolfo's really skilled in a lot of different areas. So the discovery sessions are a really good way to figure out like what is most important to you? What do you kind of want to focus on? And what would that look like to work with him to do that? So, and you're kind of figuring out like, hey, is this someone I want to work with? And he's also figuring out like, hey, would this be a good fit? Would I be able to help this person and go on this journey with them together towards breaking some of those limiting beliefs? So I highly recommend it. It's something that like I said, has really changed a lot for me in my life, and I'm super grateful to be on the other side of the process, but like also able to see like, we're also growing and learning every day. So anyway, I'm grateful for the process for sure.
Thanks for sharing that. And if you're interested in scheduling your discovery session, I will paste the link again by the chat. And I would like to say thanks, Danielle, for being here. Also, I would like to say thanks to our attendees. And before closing, I would like to open a space for questions if we have, okay? So I will highlight myself again. Thank you, Danielle. And please let me know if you have any questions. You can write your questions by the chat. I need to say that you participated a lot, so I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for telling me that you were following me, because with that, I can know if you're understanding. Anna is saying, is there a recording of this webinar available? Yes, so I'm recording and I will send an email tomorrow in the morning with the recording that will be available until this Sunday. Yes, Anna. Oh, yes, Michaela, I will explain that before closing the session. Thanks for waiting for me and reminding me. Alexia says no questions, but thank you. Anna says thank you. Okay, so Michaela, I will turn on my camera. So muscular relaxation techniques, that's what you can do, okay? Which is not a breathing technique, but it's something similar. Actually, my favorite is called shoulder tension. And what you do is tensing your shoulders like this. Actually, you can do research and you will find information. But if you're in a meeting, of course, you will not tense up your shoulders because that will be very obvious. So what you can do is tense your fists or a part of your body that nobody is able to see. That's what you can do. So the name is muscular relaxation techniques. That's what can help you. But again, that's a band-aid because what you should do actually is to work on your limiting beliefs, because that will help you to address the roots of the problem. Okay? Let me know, Michaela, if you understood the technique and the name of the technique, actually, because you will be able to do more research. You're welcome, Jessica. You're welcome, Anna. Alexia, you're welcome. So thanks for joining me tonight. And I hope that we will be able to interact again in a discovery session or in another masterclass. Okay? Have a very good night. Bye-bye.